Hello, welcome to Jason the Old Millennial. My name is Jason. I'm speaking to you here in my basement in the great state of Kansas. And this episode I am continuing my listing of all of the Beatles songs from worst to best. And I'm still in what I call the bad Beatle category, songs that I don't like that the Beatles did. I'm doing 197 to 190, so I'm covering 8 songs here. And these are more, like I said, most of the ones on my bad category are more obscure songs. I don't know if that too many of them are too controversial choices. They really aren't songs that anybody ever talks about, or ones I even forget that they're Beatles songs. So I listen to them, I'm like, oh, this is a Beatles song. I didn't even realize, like, you never hear it on the radio or anywhere at all, never in concerts and all that. And there's a lot of, on this list of 8, there's a lot of cover songs here. A lot of late 50s cover songs that they like to do, that they played in the clubs, the concerts, in the Cavern and Casbah and then Hamburg. And so these are just songs that they liked that they were able to cover pretty easily. So this is very early Beatles period songs. A lot of these songs, not all of these, but a lot of them are B-sides to other singles and so forth. And some from the White Album as well. So let's start with 197 on my list is Honey Pie, which came on the White Album. Lennon McCartney song. Really, it's a Paul McCartney song. It really was all him as far as writing and performing. We had Wild Honey Pie, which was very low on my list. Like, it was like 212 on my list. And it was kind of connected to this song, Honey Pie. So it was weird that on the White Album you have Wild Honey Pie and Honey Pie. Too many Honey Pies on the album. They're like some of the worst songs on the album, White Album. And it's funny, and I have a Honey Don't came, I think, last episode, or episode before. They didn't do very well with songs with the word honey in it for some reason. It's kind of this bad, almost curse for the Beatles to me, and I've heard that from other Beatle fans. Honey Pie, it's really written in a 1920s style music, and Paul wrote it kind of to emulate what he heard growing up from his father. His father played piano, and he played these 20s, I think 20s, 30s, 40s, whatever, really old style piano, because he played piano at the bars and stuff, and so he would play it in the house, and Paul would hear these, and so he had probably some like of that style. And so it's almost an homage to his father in a way, I think, singing this really old style. To me, it doesn't work. It's too old. The style's too old. I kind of find myself thinking it's hard to try to do, in current day, try to do something retro and make it sound interesting. I don't know, it's just, if you try to, in the Beatles, this was a big problem I have with the Beatles with these early stuff, was trying to do songs from the decade before, and it just didn't work because music progresses, it changes, and like I think today, I love 60s music, but I don't think I would want a band today to try to write an original song in a 60s or 50s style. It just wouldn't work as well, I don't think. I don't know, that's just my opinion. But this is very, very old style, of course, Honey Pie. And so, yeah, it just doesn't really work, I think, musically. Really not much to it, lyrically or vocally. Anyways, so to me it's a real throwaway song on the White Album. So I have that 197. 196, another song from the White Album called Savoy Truffle from George Harrison. Along with Piggies, this is like the 2 songs on the White Album from George that are just very forgettable, very songs that no one just ever talks about, and nobody cares about much that I know of anyways. And there's not much to this song except it's about chocolate. Savoy Truffle is a type of chocolate, and he really wrote this for his friend Eric Clapton. Eric Clapton evidently liked to eat a lot of Savoy Truffle chocolate, and George would tease him about it and that he's going to lose his teeth and stuff like this, and that kind of, you hear that in the song. I think he talks about losing your teeth or something. Anyways, and the song's just about different types of flavors of the chocolate, I think. So it's really just a silly throwaway song that George wrote, you know, and they just threw everything at the wall on the White Album, and this is one of them that they end up recording. I think if they came out with a 14 song list, that wouldn't make it, and the White Album would be stronger. But White Album was just a very interesting album because of all the different kinds of music that's thrown out there. But yeah, I just never cared for it. In fact, it's just a song that I never even think about. Anyways, and so that's why it's pretty low on my list of songs. 195 is a song called Matchbox. This was a B-side, I believe. Maybe, or not. I didn't write down that it was a B-side. I thought it was maybe a single. Sung by Ringo. Originally written and performed by Carl Perkins back in 1957. So it's a cover song that they did. It didn't come on any of the albums, not in the UK albums. I think it probably appeared on like Long Tom Sally, the EP that came out in Canada, and I think came out on the Beatles, or in the US album Something New, which is just a US album that the Capitol Records came out with. And it came out, yeah, it was a single. It reached number 17 in the U.S., which I was surprised that it did that well, because to me it's another just forgettable Beatles song that you don't even know exists. But I would think at the time, they were coming out number one songs constantly at this period of time. If not number one, probably top 5. So number 17 is probably fairly low for the Beatles at this period when it came out, I'm sure. Can't say I listened to the original, listened to this one, didn't really care for either one. I'd probably say the Beatles better just because, I don't know, I just never can't get into Carl Perkins, just his vocals and style. He has a rockabilly style, which was popular in the 50s, and I'm just not into the rockabilly style of that time. I just don't care much for Carl Perkins' music personally, and that's why I don't. And of course, as a given Ringo still vocally not that great. As a lot of his early work is, of course, that they threw at him, because they love giving Ringo at least one song here and there. I think it was Matchbox. I think it was Matchbox was one I was reading about that. Same with Honey Don't, I think it was, or Matchbox. Oh, I think I know. I was reading about Matchbox that it was originally sung by, or not originally, but it was first sung by Pete Best when they went to Hamburg, and they would throw Pete Best this song Matchbox. He would sing there, evidently, and so that kind of became one of his songs that he would sing. And I suppose, I don't know, like why they I don't know if Pete Best could sing. I don't know why they love to give him a song, just like they gave Ringo a song each album. Maybe just to give the other ones a break because they were singing all the time. In Hamburg, they were singing for hours and hours on end. And so they gave Pete Best something to do while they could rest. Because I think they gave Stu Sutcliffe, he sang also some songs. I don't know if he was known for singing either. I mean, he really wasn't. He was just an art student, not a musician at all. So it was a song that Pete Best had. And then when Pete Best, of course, got fired and they brought Ringo in, actually John then took over. And same thing I said with Honey Don't. John would take over and sing those songs. But then when they came out with the single, I believe this was a B-side to a single maybe, I believe that, yeah, so then they gave it to Ringo. They decided, let's have Ringo sing it. Anyways, and they didn't give Ringo the best material usually, so. But I said they're big Carl Perkins fans, especially I know George Harrison, so they love covering his material because they did this, Matchbox. Like I said, Honey Don't I think was one, and Everybody's Trying to Be My Baby was another one. So they did like 3 Perkins songs, so which is a fair amount of cover songs for one artist by the Beatles. And pretty good honor for Perkins, I'm sure. Like I said, I don't know much about Perkins personally, but I just know he had some songs that were hits when they were covered, maybe. Like Blue Suede Shoes was, very famous for Elvis that he wrote. Anyway, so yeah, that's Matchbox. Number 195 on my list. 194 is a song called Bad Boy, which, unless you're a big Beatles fan, and even me, a big Beatles fan, like I don't know if you know that's even a song. Like Matchbox, I only know about the song because of Past Masters. This is another single that came out, or yeah, I think it was a single, or it came out on Beatles 6, I guess, which was a U.S. album, only U.S. album. It didn't come out in any U.K. albums. This was written and performed by a man named Larry Williams, who was in 1958, who was a popular R&B / rock singer. He was an R&B that kind of transformed into rock music in the 50s, which I never heard of Larry Williams, but when I was doing research, it was interesting to find out that he had 3 songs that the Beatles covered. And I'll talk about another one here a little bit. They're not my favorites, obviously. They're all kind of in the bad category of Beatles songs for me. I don't care for his style necessarily, the R&B style of the 50s. He's more piano-driven, I would say, than the Beatles. Beatles more guitar-driven at this time. So I would say Beatles' version I think is better. I like John's vocals actually quite a bit better, I think, than Larry Williams. Still, it's just a really obscure song. And I use that word a lot. It's just, that's the way it is with some of these Beatles songs. It's like, there's one just you never think about because it wasn't on a Beatle UK album, which I mostly listened to, and it wasn't a big single. You know, it was just not one that we talk about a lot or was ever really in concerts I've ever seen of the Beatles. So, yeah. It's not necessarily like a terrible song as far as like John's vocals are, you know, not bad. There's just, I don't like the fact that it's only John. Like, you don't hear any of the Beatles. And at this time, it's like the Beatles were great because they harmonized together, and of course, and had great melodies and all this. But with this cover song, like, they couldn't even put any harmonies in it. It was just John singing by himself, and it just had this 50s style, which to me, my problem with Beatles doing 50s songs, sometimes it works. It doesn't always work with rock songs. I feel like sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. I find like when they do like girl group songs, they seem to work a lot better for some reason, putting their spin on it. But when they're trying to do a 50s rock song, it just feels like a 50s song. And to me, the Beatles were innovators, and I listen to the Beatles because of course, obviously they're old now, but I just imagine at that time, like the stuff they were doing was so groundbreaking, innovative for, you know, what rock music was at the time. That's why they were so huge. And so I like seeing the Beatles, you know, move forward. I like to see a progression in their music. So anytime they do a 50s cover song, it feels like they're regressing, not progressing. And I don't like that for the Beatles. Like, it just doesn't sound like a Beatles song, I guess, in other words. A lot of these, like Matchbox, Bad Boy, and some of these other ones I'm going to talk about, they're not Beatles songs. They're just Beatles trying to be someone else. And the Beatles are best when they are the Beatles. Anyways, that's why a lot of these songs I don't like so much, like Bad Boy. That was the 194. 193, I have Old Brown Shoe, which is a George Harrison song. It was a B-side to the Ballad of John and Yoko, so it's a little bit later. This is the one that came out probably around 68, I'm guessing around the White Album, maybe after White Album era. Anyway, B-side to that one. It's probably the most forgettable, obscure song that George does. That it's another one of the songs where if I listened to it, I would know it was a Beatles song until someone said, like, oh, that's a Beatles song. I'm like, oh, it is? Like, I never heard of it. I listened to it, and yeah, before this, yeah, and it's not like the worst thing in the world, but yes, it's just a song that doesn't really have anything to it. There's, like I said, the other Beatles aren't really contributing to it. It's just a George song, and it really has nothing to do with the Old Brown Shoe. He wrote the song, and didn't really have a title for it, in fact. And so then when they had to come up with a title, they just came out with Old Brown Shoe because that's a line in the song. Like within the first verse, he says something about leaving the old brown shoe. Anyways, and so they named the song, which kind of had nothing to do with the song itself. But yeah, just nothing to it vocally. I think instrumentally, lyrically, nothing really interesting in the song. And it's just this kind of, to me, another throwaway song of this time period that has no significance to it. So that's why I got Old Brown Shoe at number 193. At 192, I have Long Tall Sally, which was a huge hit for Little Richard. It was #1 single for Little Richard back in 1956. Obviously, it's Little Richard's one of the fathers of rock and roll. I think when you think of the great rock and roll, the ones that almost you would say originated almost rock and roll in the 50s. You know, you put Little Richard on there, Elvis, Chuck Berry, um, Bill Haley, I think he put on there, Buddy Holly, Jerry Lee Lewis, or some of those I think he definitely put in that list. Personally, like, I'm not a big fan of Little Richard. I know some of his bigger material I've heard, like, but it's not stuff that I ever seek out. Again, it's more this fast piano-driven music that I don't listen to that much, of the 50s style. Also, Little Richard had a unique voice, and that's what really helped him, I think. And he was also a great stage presence and all that. Lone Test Alley, yeah, it's just another cover song, like I said, from the 50s that to me just doesn't work. I don't know, these 50s covers a lot of times don't work for me. It just doesn't sound like the Beatles, and that's what I want to listen to. I want to listen to the Beatles being themselves. It came on the Beatles' second album, which was a US only album. So, and of course, a lot of these are songs I listened to on the Past Masters album, is where a lot of it comes from. One of the most interesting things I've read about this is that it was the last song that they sung ever in concert at the Candlestick Park, whatever, in San Francisco. They closed with this song because it was a good rock number that they loved to close on. A lot of the concerts they loved to close on Long Tom Sally because it was a popular song, of course, in the 50s, and it was just a good rock, upbeat song that could get the crowd going, and they leave the crowd on a high note, I guess, in that time. So it's interesting to say that was the last song you would hear at a Beatles concert ever, and that was never another Beatles concert ever again. Anyway, so that's Long Tall Sally at 192. At 191, I got a song called Slow Down, which is another song written and performed by Larry Williams originally, 1957. It's another one's song by John Lennon. Yeah, just like Bad Boy, which was another Larry Williams song. I listened to both versions. Beatles version I think is better than the Larry Williams version, but just not another song that I just didn't know it was a Beatles song until I was looking at Past Masters, and I was like, oh, this is a Beatles song. I never was really aware of. I believe I think it was the A side maybe to. I know one of these I didn't put it down, but one of these songs that I talked about was like the A side, and the other one was the B side, like Matchbox, Bad Boy, Slow Down. I know maybe it was Matchbox. I think Matchbox and Slow Down were like A side, B side songs, singles that came out in the U.S. And Slow Down went number 25 in the U.S. Again, surprised it went that high, but number 25 is probably fairly low for the Beatles at this period, like I said. But yeah, John's vocals aren't bad or anything. It's just, like I said, another song that I just never really listened to very often or cared about, and just doesn't really move the needle either way. Just kind of a forgettable song in their repertoire of great songs that the Beatles did. Anyway, so that's why I got it so low, just because it's a song I'm not real familiar with, and nothing great about it. So I have that 191, and then at 190, the last song I have on my list for this video is a song called Year Blues by John Lennon that he wrote. I didn't write what album it came off of. I believe it came off of like either White Album or Let It Be album. I forgot to write down, but it's one of the later albums that they did, late 60s, that John did this. And this is a very raw, emotional song, I guess, about wanting to die. I never really looked at lyrics before, but I was looking at the lyrics. Everything is, I want to die. He just keeps repeating that over and over in the song about wanting to die. So it's a very, like, troubling song, really. And John Lennon's, and you hear it in his voice when he sings it, but he's also going through a bad time in his life when he wrote the song and performed it. What they think is probably was going on was he was ending his marriage with Cynthia, and he was, courting Yoko Ono. But I don't know, it was kind of a dark period for him, evidently, dealing with this relationship troubles that he was dealing with and all that. And anyway, he's probably doing drugs and all that, probably didn't help. Anyway, so he's kind of a depressed sense here when he did this Year Blues. And yeah, so I don't know, I didn't like the lyrics personally. John Lennon gives this, very emotional, very loud sometimes vocals, almost too much. I think he kind of overdoes it a lot of times on the vocals. that I don't care for, and just musically don't care for the instrumentation on this song. I'm not a blues guy, and this has somewhat of a blues sound to it that I didn't. For me, I just didn't care for. I know other Beatles fans probably put this higher on their list, but for me, it's just one that I just never care to listen to ever. Anyway, so that's number 190 on this one, Your Blues. So that's all the 8 songs I'm talking about on this video. I only have 8 more songs left on the bad category, so I can do just one more video covering the rest of what I think are kind of the bad Beatles songs, and then at least I can get to some decent songs after that. And anyway, so that'd be a little bit funner to talk about. But anyways, feel free to comment on if you think these songs belong on this low on my list or on your list. If these songs should be higher, or you agree. I'd love to see any comments. And I just really thank you for watching this video, and I appreciate all the subscribers for you know, being there for me here on this channel. And I just really appreciate it. Thank you, and have a good day.